Father, I just want to come before you this evening and thank you that you are a God of peace and promise. Thank you for the wonderful city that we get to serve, and thank you for the staff that makes that so much fun, and not only that, but possible. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, citizens' comments. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Comments about any of the council agenda items are appreciated by the council and may be taken into consideration at this time or during that agenda item. Council is prohibited from acting on or discussing items brought before them at this time.
Yes, sir.
Nobody speaking? Okay. Right, then I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Any discussion? Cast your vote. It's unanimous. Business agenda. Consider and recommend the approval of the Specialty Retail and Restaurant Incentive Program. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you. That's still on all the time. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Our Director of Economic Development, Elise Beck, will present this item and answer any questions that you have.
Good evening, Mayor, members of Council. Before you have the Specialty Retail and Restaurant Incentive Program. So as you know, we're trying to create a destination. We want to give people a reason to shop and dine in Corinth. And how are we going to do that? We're going to attract and recruit new, locally owned, and new to market concept restaurants and retailers. How are we going to do that? We drafted the Specialty Retail and Restaurant Incentive Program. So basically, what that means is trying to attract those types of restaurants that are not currently within Corinth and not currently within the immediate area. So when people are driving along 35, they have a reason to stop here and stay to eat and shop. In terms of the incentive program, we're offering 3 types of potential incentives to restaurants and retailers. That includes a matching grant. It may be for facade improvements, or signage, or for tenant improvements, which would mean if they're moving into a new restaurant and they want to relocate a wall, we may be able to help offset that cost. The other one would be a reimbursement of any type of development costs in terms of their building permit fees. And the last one would be a possible reimbursement of their sales and use tax. So for someone to qualify for this program, they basically have to sign a minimum of a 5-year lease on their facility. Then they would submit their application. Economic development staff would review that to ensure that they're meeting all the qualifications. Then we would submit it obviously to the EDC board, and then they would make recommendation to bring that grant or proposed incentive in front of council for your consideration and approval. This program was approved by the EDC board at our last board meeting, which was held on July the 10th, and staff is making a recommendation that council approve the incentive program as presented.
Are there any questions from council? Thank you very much. Okay, I'll entertain a motion on that item.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Cast your vote. It's unanimous. Consider and act on a resolution to amend the Economic Development Incentive Policy. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'm going to let Elise Beck handle this one as well.
So for the incentive policy, you actually approved that back in March of 2022, and there was one minor amendment to the policy. On page 31, under section 4, which is an overview of the incentives, we actually removed the sign service program, grant program. That hasn't been utilized since I've been here, nor was it really utilized in the past. And we've replaced that obviously with the retail special, or the specialty retail and restaurant program. So just taking out that incentive and adding the one that you just approved. And this was also presented to the EDC board at the July 10th board meeting.
Are there any questions, council? Not, I entertain a motion on this item.
Move to approve. As presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Cast your vote. It's unanimous. Consider an act on the acceptance of the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas proposal for city employees' medical insurance benefits for fiscal year 2023-2024, and authorize the city manager to execute the necessary documents. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is related to what we discussed in the workshop, but, I'm sorry, Guadalupe Ruiz, no, is prepared to answer any specific questions you have about what's in your packet.
Is there any questions? Okay. Then I'd entertain a motion on that item.
Mayor, I'll move to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Cast your vote. It's unanimous. Item number 6, consider an act on the acceptance of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas proposal for city employees' dental insurance benefit for fiscal year 2023-2024, and authorize the city manager to execute the necessary documents. Mr. Campbell.
Mayor, thank you again. This is the dental component of our health insurance plan, and as it's indicated in the packet, this moves the dental component under Blue Cross Blue Shield to provide those services to us. It actually resulted in a bit of a discount for us on the overall health insurance. And Guadalupe is here tonight to answer any specific questions you have on that item as well.
Any questions from the council? Not, entertain a motion on that item.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? Cast your vote. It's unanimous. Consider an act on agreement with SPAM Inc. for services supporting older residents, residents with disabilities, veterans, and other general public for fiscal year 2023-2024, and authorize the city manager to execute the necessary documents. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a request tonight from an organization that we have been involved with now for a few years, and I'm going to let Leanne Bunzelmeyer present the specific information tonight, but we do have a representative tonight from SPAN. Max is here tonight, who I met on a Zoom call a few weeks ago, so I appreciate you being here tonight, and I believe he's got some information he wants to present too.
So several years ago, I think probably 4 or 5 years ago, we entered into an agreement with Hickory Creek, Shady Shores, and Lake Dallas to fund SPAN. They had gotten funding for a 5-year grant, and so it would be zero cost to the municipalities. That grant was supposed to expire in June, but due to the increased ridership, they anticipate that the grant is going to run out of money by the end of December. So in order to renew the contract for an additional year, it will require additional funding from each one of the participating cities. And based on the ridership, for us, it is about $25,000 a year. And I believe that's a cost share, so we would pay $20 per ride, and then SPAN would pick it up. SPAN would pick it up out of grants that they have, and they feel confident that they'll be able to sustain that for a few years because they are able to get additional funding. So with that, I'll turn it over to Max.
Thank you very much. I'm Max Calder, Director of Operations with SPAN Transportation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. And thank you, Mr. Campbell. Thank you very much. This one right here. Thank you. So Span Transportation, or Span I should say in general, the nonprofit, has been in business since 1974. We're approaching our 50th year next fiscal year, exciting year coming up, or I should say next calendar year, and we'll be continuing to offer service throughout Benton County. Last year, Meals on Wheels, we do both Meals on Wheels and transportation, performed 124,000 aggregate meals to 1,297 distinct clients. In Corinth, that was 36 clients and 3,489 meals. Site managers and also management team and also volunteers are all administered by SPAN. That does not affect any of the contract that we're talking about this evening, just highlighting some other programs that we also offer, subsidized by Area Agency on Aging and also fundraising and grants. Senior Pause, that is not funded by a dedicated grant program, but by fundraising, and it actually provides assistance for vets, for people qualifying for Meals on Wheels, and it's a real great program, real popular during the pandemic, and many times the pet is the social connection for the senior. And now the transition slide, we get into transportation. So, passenger fare is $3 each way. This is a demand response transportation program for people with disabilities, senior citizens, or veterans. Approved trip purposes, and really it's not about the purpose, it's about the essential activity, the independence of the senior, the person with a disability or the veteran to get where they need to go. The only services that the contract would relate to for folks riding in Corinth would not include our veteran VA dedicated access service. That's actually funded by TEC, Texas Veteran Commission. So this would only be those demand response trips for people going to the doctor, going to essential trips like dialysis, chemotherapy, shopping, pharmacy, fitness activity, seniors in motion. Those are the general type of trip purpose, good diversity trip purposes, but all of them are essential in some degree, keeping people healthy and independent. We are a professional demand response transportation frontline and transportation operation. We're audited by the same entities that DCTA or DART are audited by. That includes the FDA, it includes NCT, Council of Governments, it also includes TxDOT. Our directors are professionally trained and credentialed. They are represented on the Transportation SPAN Safety Committee, and it's a see something, say something culture. Professional dispatch team, just had a dispatcher who celebrated her 25th anniversary of the organization. She knows the passengers well, she does a great job, and she also facilitates with the schedule, which is also done in an automated way and is done to industry standard. Our fleet, this is thankful to Council of Governments, thankful to TxDOT. It is a reliable, large, small to mid-sized revenue fleet, and it is audited by TxDOT, COG, and DPS. There are 8 new minibuses unleaded that should be arriving realistically now, probably September, but we're hopeful for August they'll be delivered by the manufacturer and here in Texas, and hopefully take shipment of those. Those will replace some vehicles past state repair, and that's all capital costs covered by COG funding, either TxDOT funding or COG funding, and does not affect the operating rate. Now here's where the city support gets in. That was some background on what we do, why we do it. The CARES Act funding, and previously 5310. 5310 is a federal funding stream. We're a sub-recipient of COG for the urban areas that are being served here in the Lake Cities. And that, and then subsequently CARES Act money, which was during COVID, will sunset at the earliest December 31st, 2023. The money, depending on demand for service, could move into January, February. That would just lower the operating commitment from Corinth. We're going to use every penny of CARES Act money to support Lake City service and other services. After that, then the $20.24 per trip is projected to support about 135
there any questions?
I'm just curious if we could obtain a list with your client's permission of their names and phone numbers. We're instituting the program to give seniors a tax break, and probably the list of people that y'all service could help us target the people that need it.
If, with HIPAA, that can be somewhat sensitive, but we do know who the Corinth writers are, so if there's something we can work on together, way to notify the writers, the qualified eligible individuals, not necessarily writers. Some folks may be eligible and not write, but if they're Corinth residents, then with their permission, I don't see why we couldn't reach out. Sure.
Yeah, just.
I'll work with you, Scott.
Absolutely.
I do have a question. Does SPAN pick up the intellectually disabled to go to a day hab?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and that would be, absolutely. Those tend to be some of the most frequent writers.
Yes.
And writers that without SPAN may not have the independence that they get from going to those workshops, day programs, absolutely.
Great, thanks.
And there's some examples in Corinth. Yeah.
There are, well, one of them was at my house.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
You know firsthand.
So I have a question. You said the passenger fee was $3 each way, but then the slide says that it's $20 per ride. So are you saying that the city pays $20 per ride for each passenger?
That is correct. That is the local transit investment that supports the subsidy missing. The passenger fare is just the $3, and then the $20.24 is the fare's backed out of that, so that's not quantified and they're not being page-wise. And then it's also half of additional subsidy, which is urban federal 5307 funding that we are a subrecipient of to receive. So it lowers what would otherwise be a rate of about 48 after the fare, and then we back out the half of that 2024, arriving at 2024 for the local cities.
Okay, so you said $3 each way.
Correct.
So if I want to go to the doctor, free there, free back, what if I don't have $6? I mean, what if I'm going to the doctor every day and I don't have $6 a day, because that can add up quickly? Do you have something for people that can't do that?
There are cities, the Colony comes to mind, that does support the fare subsidy for people going to the senior center for that specific trip purpose. At this point, we don't have other funders or cities, municipalities that pay the $3 fare. We're certainly open to that. There's different ways that can be worked. It could be for certain trip purposes. It could be for the overall group, and it certainly would be welcomed by many seniors. The $3 fare, while reasonable by public transit nationwide industry standards, is very challenging for somebody on a fixed income. So we're open-minded to that. We don't have a mechanism right now to subsidize it, but any entity willing to fund it or help us fund it or be a partner on a grant application, and there are some. There's different grants that can come up where fare can be subsidized, so we're definitely open-minded to that. And understand the challenges that the $3 fare each way does place on the individual.
Any other questions? Do you work with Donnie Green on your program?
Interesting you bring that up. Yes, as a matter of fact, I saw Donnie on a statewide area agency on aging PowerPoint about the programs that they're working on, some updates. So I know who Donnie is.
Okay. I'm president of the COG board, that's why I work with her.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, great. And we also work with a lot of the members of the transportation planning team at the Council of Governments. In fact, we're going to see some COG folks tomorrow morning, orientation to some requests for reimbursement workbook training.
Thank you.
Thank
Can
you.
you go back? How many trips did you say we had a year?
Per year, that was on pace, you're looking at about 134.67 per month. For the 9 months that funding, that the local contribution will be necessitated, the first 3 months, the first quarter will be covered by the CARES Act funding. That last 9 months will be about 135 trips per month, projected at about 1,212 trips per year.
So is it a trip one way, or is that?
Oh yes, yeah, that is a one-way trip.
Okay.
Most trips do tend to be round trips, but in many cases, a parent, loved one, caretaker gets somebody where they're going, and then SPAN can take them back. So we wouldn't prohibit a one-way trip or even a three-segment, three-leg trip. Example would be person goes to the doctor. From the doctor, they may take a trip to the pharmacy. From the pharmacy, they may come back home. There's usually not more than 3 legs, but we do see substantial enough number of three-leg trips.
Any other questions? Okay, I'd entertain a motion on this item.
Mayor, I'd make a motion to pass as presented.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Cast your vote. It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. You all made my evening, and I want to thank the City of Corinth. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Council comment and future agenda items. The purpose of this section is to allow each council member the opportunity to provide general updates and or comments to fellow council members, the public and our staff on any issues or future events. Also in accordance with section 30.085 of the Code of Ordinances, at this time any council member may direct that an item be added as a business item to any future agenda. Mr. Burke.
Nothing, Mayor, thank you.
Mr. Garber.
Nothing, sir. Thank you.
Mrs. Henderson.
Nothing, sir.
Mrs. Pinckney.
I just want to make a quick comment. The mayor and I were at the dog park dedication on Saturday, and while I really thought that I was going to have a heat stroke, I appreciate all the work that the staff put into that, and along with Piper. But it really is a great looking dog park. It's going to be a great asset to the city. So I just want to acknowledge all the hard work that y'all put into it. I know that Piper did a lot, but y'all did a lot too. So it was a great day, although it was very, very hot. And I lost my water bottle somewhere.
Mr. Campbell.
Scott was there too.
I was going to report I found a water bottle. Nothing else to report.